launching 3 different products tonight, and because we want to talk about great sound, but we also want to talk about something that SVS is known for, which is great bass. I thought we would divide this up. We're launching our Prime Pinnacle speakers tonight. No one has seen these outside of some folks in the trade. We showed them at International CES in Las Vegas. So only 180,000 people who were in Vegas. No, actually, we didn't get all of those people. But people who came and saw our display in Las Vegas saw these, but we never officially announced them. Tonight is the night we're officially announcing Prime Pinnacle. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's our all-new 3-way tower speaker. And before I talk about what it is and why we did it, I thought I would talk a little bit about SVS speakers. SVS speakers have, I've been asked before, what is our design philosophy? And what should a design philosophy be of a speaker brand, especially if the speakers are within affordable price ranges? We're not cheap by any stretch. I would never insult you by saying our stuff is inexpensive. Our stuff is aspirational. It is not cheap, but relative to the world of high-end audio, it is a bargain. And typically, in our price points, you have to choose between 2 performance characteristics. Either you choose between sort of what we call audiophile refinement, accuracy, or you can choose dynamics, low frequency extension. You typically, in our price ranges, don't get both. You don't get accuracy, you don't get musicality, you don't get refinement, and bass and excitement and dynamics. We try to help you have your cake and eat it too, by being accurate, refined, and musical, but not sacrificing the excitement that you get in home theater, the impact, the slam and yes bass. So it's a have your cake and eat it too experience if we're doing our jobs right. Nick, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah, if you know about SVS, you know we're very open to reviews. We love reviews from all over, owners, press reviews, critical reviews, YouTubers. Like we want to be validated by people who are just regular listeners, and part of that is understanding that to have a speaker and to be able to know that it can do all things well. And there was one review in particular that came out recently where it was in a magazine called Widescreen Review, which is a print magazine, and it is
audiophile.
Sort of focused for audiophiles. And the gentleman basically took an Ultra Tower system, which is our flagship reference line, compared a 5.0 system, no subwoofer, to a $30,000 custom installed home theater that he had just visited from at a friend's house. And basically his whole take and the conclusion was like, I'm not going to say the SVS sounded better, I'm not going to say it sounded worse. But for about $2,800, $3,000, and to be able to compare it to a $30,000 system, it kind of makes you scratch your head and be like, why should I have to spend more?
Right.
So that's a big part of our philosophy, is that you can have that really high-end killer performance, get 99% of the way to that like ultimate audio experience, but pay a fraction of what it costs. And really, I think more than any speaker that I've heard in our line, the Prime Pinnacle is the epiphany of that. It's just a very, very high-end, very refined speaker, and still it digs deep and it gets that low frequency extension and dynamic output. So we're super excited to launch it. I know the reaction at CES was very positive, and we're looking forward to the reviews of that as well as all of our products. We work very hard to let the third-party people judge and not just take it from us.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I think the point of our speakers, and I'll use Prime Pinnacle as an example. It's not cheap. I'm not by any stretch would I insult any of you by saying it's cheap. It's $15.99 for the pair of speakers. That's right there with what is colloquially called the better mid-fi speaker price ranges. But what we build into this in terms of technology and performance is pretty unprecedented. This is a 3-way speaker, but you see 5 drivers. Let me explain what that means. First of all, each one of these drivers is in its own sub-chamber, meaning each one is completely separate from all the others. This allows us to create a very refined and accurate experience, but I'll explain, it also allows us to create incredible dynamic range and shocking low frequency extension for the size and for this price range. Our high frequency transducer should look very familiar to you. It's very similar to the one that's on our Prime series, and it's timbre matched to work with our Ultra series as well. So all our speakers will work with all our other speakers in a home theater environment. They're timbre matched to work with each other regardless of series. This is an all-new mid-range driver in its own sealed sub-enclosure. And then here's an interesting thing. All three of these woofers are active. You've probably heard the term passive radiator. That's essentially a speaker that's not hooked up. All three of these woofers are active. They're each in their own ported sub-enclosure. And the interesting thing is, each of the enclosures has a different tuning. I don't want to get all technical on you guys, other than to say what it means is the transition from the tweeter to the mid-range is smooth, effortless, and basically you can't hear it. And then the transition from the mid-range to the first woofer is also smooth and effortless because this woofer is crossed over at a higher frequency point. And this one is crossed over, or I should say, ported to a slightly lower frequency range, and this one is ported to an even lower frequency range. Again, have your cake and eat it too. Linear, accurate response, but because of the different port tunings and each one in its own sub-enclosure, we're able to create a very exciting experience in terms of the dynamics and the low frequency extension. Have I gotten too technical, or is that okay?
That's okay. As technical as you want.
And I have to say, you know, I say this to our team, we wanted to change the conversation about SVS. When we started our team, almost 8 years ago now, we were known as a great subwoofer company, and we still are. And I'm going to talk about subwoofers in a minute, or in a few minutes. But we wanted to change the conversation, and we wanted to be one of the great speaker companies as well. And the guys, I take no credit for this, but the guys have done a phenomenal job getting us there. We are definitely the #1 searched for subwoofer in the world by far. I would say we're the #1 branded subwoofer in the world. I don't get much debate. But a lot of people don't know we're now in the top 5 searched for speakers in the world. We've moved forward in that, and we've worked really, really hard to create experiences that are second to none, especially when you take our price into consideration.
So this will bring in the height effects really nicely, those prime elevation speakers that the Star Power team so meticulously climbed up on ladders and hung. This will do a great job of bringing in some of the height information from those. There'll be some great low frequency sweeps as well, but it's the intro to Mad Max, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen here, one of the best demos, audio demos in the past couple of years. So specifically listen for some of those height effects, because that is one of the most exciting things in the world of home theater right now, is this notion of object-based surround sound and Dolby Atmos and all the new formats that are coming out.
My name is Max. My world is fire and blood.
Why are you hurting these people? It's the oil, stupid.
Oil wars. We are killing for gasoline.
The world is actually running out of water.
Where's the water? Wars.
Once, I was a cop, a road warrior searching for a righteous cause.
The terminal freakout point.
Terrorizing itself.
The earth is south.
Our bones are poisoned.
We have become half-life.
As the world fell, each of us in our own way was broken. It was hard to know who was more crazy. Me or everyone else.
Hello? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
Here they come again, worming their way into the black matter of my brain.
You promised to help us.
I tell myself, they cannot touch me. They are long dead.
What'd you think?
Yeah,
Fun, right?
good. Yeah, good. Yeah.